there. Can we talk about American alligators? Yes, my friends, I am back on my bullshit. I have driven across this great country of ours and made it all the way to New York City. And what better way to celebrate my journey to NYC than to talk about the most infamous animal in all of New York, the American alligator. But before we talk about why the southern-dwelling colossal reptile is associated so strongly in New York urban legends, I thought we should talk a bit about them in general, who they are, what they do, and why they see you later, as opposed to after a while. First appearing on the scene 83.5 million years ago in the late Cretaceous period, the crocodilian family consists of a few different species. The crocodile, the gharial, the caiman, and its cousin we shall be talking about, the alligator. There are actually two different species of alligator, said American alligator and far more derpier Chinese alligator. So what separates an alligator from these other reptilian murder machines? There are a few things to be on the lookout for, provided you're not fleeing in terror from this animal. The first one is its snout. Alligator snouts have a U shape compared to the crocodile V1. Second is the teeth. While alligator teeth give an overbite impression of a Simpsons character, both the crocodile's upper and lower teeth are visible, even when the mouth is closed. And finally, the location. Crocodiles can be found in any part of the world with warm, humid climate, existing in Asia, Africa, South America, and Australia. But unlike crocodiles that can't survive in colder climates, American alligators are found in a huge amount of the southeast in the United States, an area while normally warm and humid can experience cold weather and frost. Where crocodiles would easily succumb to this cold environment, the American alligator has been observed sticking its nose above the ice in frozen rivers and ponds, allowing it to breathe above the ice. While sizes in all crocodilians vary, the American alligator is one of the largest, with males getting anywhere from 11 to 15 feet long. But that's on average, and how, like on occasion, we get our Wilt Chamberlains, the American alligator has been recorded at getting up to 17 feet long. Much like what I talk about with the monitor lizards, alligators and the rest of their family might be one of the ideal predators of the world. Despite the species having existed in North America for 8 million years, they have changed very little from their ancestors, and frankly, there is no reason to. When it comes to adaptations, these gators are like Mary Poppins, practically perfect in every way. Along with their gigantic size, the American alligator is a fantastic swimmer, and it also possesses a nictitating membrane, a third eyelid that acts like a built-in goggle, allowing it to easily see underwater when submerged. The American alligator is also able to hold its breath for 2 hours without coming up for air, which is perfect because for all its size and strength, the American alligator is an ambush predator, meaning it likes its food to come to them, and will wait in the water for tasty treats to get a little too close. And if you think, oh geez, well, as long as I'm not in water, I'll be okay, they can also outrun a human. Now, to be fair, they aren't going to win a marathon anytime soon, but they can move in bursts of speed up to 11 miles per hour. And don't think you can take a gator in a battle of fisticuffs either, because when threatened, they can whip their huge muscular tails with enough force to shatter the femur of an adult human. This, plus one of the strongest bites of any animal, makes the gator pretty badass. Alligators are an iconic part of the American Southeast, and are even the state reptile of Louisiana, Florida, and Mississippi. Believe it or not, though, this animal until the 1970s was on the verge of extinction due to a high demand of their hides and meat. Thanks to the Endangered Species Act, the American alligator was declared a protected animal and brought back into the least concerned territory. The biggest threat now to the gators is actually global warming. Unlike mammals or birds or Komodo dragons, the sex of gators is not determined by chromosomes, but by the amount of heat the eggs are getting. Temperatures around 83 degrees would produce female alligators, and the temperature above 93 degrees results in male alligators. Normally, things such as eggs being closer to the center of the nest that would acquire more heat would determine the sex, but due to global warming, the female gator population could start to decline. Well, in the long run could start to cause many problems not just in gators, but in their other crocodilian cousins and other animals where heat plays a role in determining the offspring's sex, such as sea turtles. Now on to the fun part, alligators in the sewers. Alligators in the sewers is a beloved part of pop culture, urban myth, and a big running joke in New York. Alligator Sewer Day is even an unofficial holiday on February 9th. Does that day sound familiar? But the furthest you'll find an American alligator in the wild is North Carolina. Where did the idea they live in New York City come from? Well, like all myths and legends, there's always a little negative truth. In New York City on February 9th, 1935, a gang of youths shoveling snow into a manhole discovered something in the sewer. Unlike what is normally found by a gang of youths living in the sewer, it was not an evil clown, but rather a gator. The little rascals managed to get the gator out of the sewer, but in a rather terrifying turn of events, proceeded to beat it to death once it appeared aggressive. Holy shit, this episode got dark. There were no pet stores in the vicinity, and the theory at the time was the gator might have stowed away on a boat that had made its way up north. Since the discovery, numerous instances of other alligators in New York have been recorded, including a 4-foot alligator discovered in Queens in 1995, a caiman discovered in Central Park in 2001, and another alligator discovered yet again in Queens in 2003. While the notion that alligators live in the sewers is a fun one, the frigid temperatures of New York City in the winter are too much for an alligator to endure, even ones used to living in the colder winters of the South. Secondly, this isn't the Shawshank Redemption. Living in the feces of the entire population of New York City would not be feasible for a gator to do. Many of these gators discovered were most likely kept as pets. Up until the mid-20th century, it was completely legal to sell and ship a gator as a pet, provided it was under 20 inches in length. And a little bit of personal family history, my uncle, when during his childhood in New York City, was actually given a baby alligator as a pet. It was donated to a seafood shop in Queens once it got too big. Yeah, this episode's getting weird. Owning an animal that can get bigger than you, can eat you, and could possibly outlive you, alligators have been known to live up to 70 years, is not a good idea. And the American alligator fits all three. Despite being cute as babies, oh, look at this. Yeah, they bark. Yeah. Once they hit their full size, it is not an animal you can reasonably keep, let alone control. And while alligators are not some conniving creature ready to eat all humans in the area, they have, multiple times, eaten people. The sad truth is that in getting an animal that should have never been kept as a pet in the first place, it's the animal that suffers. Once discovered, either due to have being let loose, escaped, or a visit from authorities after a neighbor complained, there are not a lot of options for these animals. And unless taken in by a zoo or a rescue, they will be euthanized. A cruel fate for an animal that had no say in the matter. Keeping gators as pets is still shockingly common. And while New York might be a paradise for rats and pigeons, gators belong in the South, not in the sewers, or your bathtub, or in Times Square next to that creepy Elmo guy. Thanks for being so patient with my past hiatus, and I'm super delighted to be back doing these shows. While I was on the road, I happened to come across 2 animal podcasts that I wanted to recommend to people who enjoy this channel and wanted more stuff about animals they can listen to without accidentally causing a car wreck. The first is the Species Podcast by MacLeod. He chooses an animal to talk about, which can range from popular to the misunderstood and, oh, whoa, holy shit, him fly! The second is Drunk Safari. The delightful Maggie Takuta Hall chooses an animal weekly to talk about, but in a twist, also has a guest on to talk about an animal of their choosing that she interviews them on. They're both fantastic shows, and if you're a fan of what I do, I highly encourage you to check them both out. Links are below in the YouTube link. That's all for today. Thanks for letting me talk about American alligators.